The ACU football team is headed south to take on those Hoggies of Texas A&M-Kingsville.
The Cats are looking to bring home some bacon and move a step closer to another playoff berth. We'll talk about it next, right here on The Chris Thomsen Show.
Welcome to another Wildcat Football Saturday. Grant Boone here with ACU senior Austin Gwynn and the head coach Chris Thomsen. Game number 9 of the 2011 season tonight in South Texas, 7 p.m. kickoff. ACU on the road at Texas A&M-Kingsville. Familiar opponent, coach, great setting, an awful lot riding on this game. It has all the makings of another good one between these two schools, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Every time we go to Kingsville, it seems like just a shootout. You know, the 3 times that we've been down, 06, 08, and last year were just tough, hard-fought games and came down to the wire. So we're looking for the same thing. I think Kingsville has a great team, very talented, good athletic group, and you know, they've had some struggles, been up and down, but they've got a great team. We're looking forward to the challenge.
Last week you took care of Commerce and still number 5 in the regional rankings with 2 games to go. Knowing that a loss probably knocks you guys out of playoff contention, how much does this game against Kingsville feel like a playoff game?
Well, it basically is a playoff game. I mean, we've worked extremely hard to get ourselves in this position. You know, we've been going 12 weeks of the regular season. You go back to last winter and spring ball. I mean, everything comes down to this, really. And we've been in this position several times in terms of having to win out at the end. And we got some guys that have that experience. And it's going to be a great challenge. It's hard to go play in Kingsville. It's hard to make that trip, but we've done it before, and we're excited about going back down there.
We'll talk a little bit more about the Kingsville game a little bit later on in the show, but when we come back, we'll look back at the highlights of that 40-28 victory over Texas A&M-Commerce last week at Shotwell Stadium. Stay tuned. ACU scored early and often, then held off Texas A&M-Commerce last Saturday at Shotwell 40-28. With the highlights, here's Austin.
The boys in purple and white taking on the Texas A&M-Commerce Lions on Saturday. ACU looking to exact some revenge on the winless Lions after getting demolished last week by Midwestern State. But second play of the game is not what the Cats were looking for. That's a Gale interception. Defense, though, holds the Lions to a 3-and-out. Offense gets the ball back, and there's Daryl Richardson, 78 yards to the house on the 3rd offensive play of the game. Makes up for Mitchell's interception. Cats up early, 7-0. But Cats' next offensive possession, there's Gale with another turnover, a strip sack for the Lions. But just like last time, defense holds the Lion offense to a 3-and-out. Cats get the ball back, and there's the Daryl Richardson Express chugging out of the station. 47 more yards. It's his 2nd touchdown in the first quarter. Richardson had over 100 yards rushing in that first quarter. How about we show some of the defensive highlights? There's L.B. Suggs picking off Lion quarterback J.J. Harp. And Gale on the offensive drive will find Justin Andrews, who gets it to the 1, almost gets in the end zone. But there the drive will stall, settle for a Lineberry field goal. It didn't matter as the Wildcats go on defense. And there's Mike Wallace with an interception. And he'll take that one back for 6. Cats up 24-0 in the second quarter. It's only going to get better. There's a Lineberry punt. Wildcats get a little bit lucky. It hits off one of the Commerce lines, and they'll recover. Next play after the muffed Commerce punt, Gale, a fake reverse, finds Darian Hogg in the end zone. Wildcats up 30-0. This was the beatdown they needed. It's what they were looking for to rebound after that loss, but Commerce not going to go down without a fight. Here's Harp rolling around and finding Tyler Rawlings, who'll go in at the end of the first half. Start of the second half now in Commerce. Another touchdown. That's Daryl Crummy on an 8-yard run. That'll cut the Wildcat lead to 33-14. Next drive for the Cats, Reggie Brown fumbles the ball. Fumbles after a big hit, and the Lions get it right back, go right back in the end zone. Marcus Graham, a 7-yard run. All of a sudden, it's 33-21. What? An 0-7 team? Gale finds Ben Gibbs on the next drive, doing what they need to do, putting together a long, methodical drive, taking up a lot of the clock. Gale on 3rd down will take it himself for the first down. And here he finds his favorite target of the day, Ben Gibbs, in the corner of the end zone. Mitchell finished with a couple of touchdowns on the day, and that'll put the Wildcats up 40-21. Lions will score one more time as Harp finds Jarrett Golighty on a 2-yard catch. That'll be it, though. The Wildcats squeak by the winless Lions 40-28. Defense came up big with 5 turnovers, but the offense turned the ball over 5 times too. With a look at the defensive performance, here's safety Darian Williams.
I feel like we came out in the first half and played pretty good. Had a couple stops and we really shut them out. They scored that touchdown late in the second quarter, but I feel like second half we just kind of let off the gas and let them back in the game, really doing things to kill ourselves. So we played a good game overall, but we just got to we got to keep our foot on the gas when we got them down.
So ACU scores 40 in recording its 40th victory over Commerce all-time, longest running rivalry the Cats have with any opponent. Coach, kind of a weird game. I mean, you get up 30-0, they come back at one point with a little less than 7 minutes. They've got the ball down 12, 10 combined turnovers. It seemed like a weird game from where I sat in the press box. What about you?
It was weird from our standpoint just because we don't typically turn the ball over that much. And, we had a couple early there in the game and that we bounced back from, but turning the ball over on special teams helped them get back in the game, and it was not a clean game, to say the least in some areas. But I think our defense bounced back really well from the previous week. I was proud of the performance they put together, forcing 5 turnovers. So a little bit different way to win, but win nonetheless.
And coming into the game, you guys only had 8 giveaways and 8 takeaways the entire year. You have 5 and 5 this past Saturday. How many of those turnovers by you guys were because of a lack of focus, or maybe were they by good defense from the Lions?
Well, I think a little bit of both. I mean, I think we started off offensively a little bit slow. The first interception was really the ball should have been going to another receiver anyway. We kind of forced that one. But credit Commerce. They knocked some balls loose and did a good job, playing physical on defense. They got some guys that play physical, and I think it's a little bit of combination of both, and we just got to do a better job tonight against Kingsville.
One of your 5 takeaways was a 46-yard interception return for a touchdown by junior transfer Mike Wallace, a guy from Northern California who was a bit of a ball hawk last year when he played at the College of San Mateo. First time your defense has scored this season. And I know you've told me before what that feels like when you're on offense and the other team scores. It happened with Janoris Jenkins back at the North Alabama game. But what did that score do for you defensively, and what could Mike Wallace add? He's been playing more and more as the year's gone on.
Well, a pick 6 is huge. I mean, either way, I mean, it's pretty devastating to the other team. It's hard to bounce back from. And that was a really good play by Mike. He played the coverage just right and played the ball and gave us a big lift there. And he really came in. He came in the fall, didn't have the benefit of spring training, so had to come in and kind of learn the defense. And we played him a lot on special teams. He's done an outstanding job on our special teams and earned a lot of trust as the season went on. And he's got some length. He's about a 6-foot guy, long arms, and can cover some ground. And some of the other, Richard and Darian have played a ton this season. They're a little bit beat up. Especially Richard. He's had some injuries, and so as we go throughout the rest of the season, Mike will factor in big. He's played quite a bit in the last 3 or 4 games, and we expect him to keep making plays as we go down the stretch.
Yeah. Let's talk about a guy who we seem to mention every week but had a special game, Daryl Richardson. He ran for 170 yards, the bulk of those coming on 2 first-quarter touchdown runs of 78 and 46 yards. With those 2 scores, he now ranks 3rd in ACU history in both, with 30 rushing touchdowns, 33 total touchdowns behind Wilbert Montgomery and Bernard Scott. I think a lot of people may be surprised to hear that stat, only 2 ACU legends in front of Daryl Richardson. Have we given Daryl the respect that he's due with his career here at ACU?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of had a funny career because he's been very productive, but yet he's been off and on with injuries. And I think you're seeing what he can do this year. He's pretty much put a full season together, missed a little bit of the first 3 quarters, but he's putting a full season together, and he'll continue to get a lot of opportunities. He had over 20 touches last week, and he's a guy that if we're going to finish this season out right, get in the playoffs and make a run at a national championship, he's a guy that's going to have to continue to stay healthy and carry the load. I think he's doing a great job.
Coach, Darian Hogg last week caught a 35-yard touchdown off a fake reverse. Just his second touchdown of the season. 7 catches, 99 yards in that big win over Tarleton in the season opener, but only 200 yards over his next 7 games total. 200 yards is less than 30 yards per game. Taylor Gabriel has established himself already as a frontline, legit #1 receiver. What would it mean for your offense if Darian Hogg had a huge finish to this year?
It would be huge. I mean,
Is it mandatory?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, we've got a pretty good group of playmakers at running back and some at receiver, and we got a tight end and fullback that can make plays with Ben and Justin. But Darian needs to come on and give us that threat. He's really battled some injuries all year, got banged up game 3 or 4, and has kind of battled through that. And I think that's why his production's fallen off a little bit. But he continues to practice hard and work through those injuries. He's a tough guy, and we need him to step up with plays like he made against Commerce.
Big win, 40-28. May not have been as clean as you would have liked it, but as you said after the game in the post-game show, every win over a Lone Star Conference opponent is a big one, and you go to 6-2 now. Huge, huge game against Texas A&M-Kingsville tonight, and we'll preview that game a little later. But when we come back, it's up to the JMC Network newsroom for a look at the rest of the world of ACU sports. Stay with us on the Chris Thomsen Show.
Welcome back to the Chris Thomsen Show with a look now at the ACU sports landscape, including the Lone Star Conference Soccer Championship happening right now on campus this weekend. Here's Taylor Langston and Kristen Goodspeed with the JMC Network Sportscast.
Thanks, Austin. The Wildcat volleyball team completes their last week of conference games today against Cameron University. This is the season and career home finale for 2 impact players, senior Kelsey Edwards and senior Jenny Hutt, who will be recognized in the pregame ceremonies. Hutt was named to the second team all-conference for the 2nd consecutive season, and Edwards leaves Moody with an ACU record in career digs. Here's Kristen with a recap of Tuesday night's game.
Wildcat volleyball defeated number 16th ranked Angelo State University on Tuesday. 2 weeks ago, ACU lost a 5-set match to the Rambles in Angelo, so one could say the Wildcats wanted to get even. This time around, the back-and-forth struggle between the 2 teams continued as ACU won the first set 25-23, lost the second 20-25, won the third 25-23 again, lost the fourth 15-25, but grabbed the victory in the last set 15-13.
Soccer's winning streak continues after the Wildcats defeated West Texas A&M on Sunday. The 1-0 win was the team's record-tying 10th shutout of the season. Goalie Elliott London stopped 6 shots, while sophomore Ashley Craig scored the match's lone goal. This game wrapped up the Wildcats' regular season. ACU's record stands at 17-0-1, which matches last season's 17 victories. It's ACU's first ever undefeated season.
The Harlem Globetrotters have entertained millions with their outlandish performances and unconventional basketball skills. This winter, they are coming right here to ACU on January 24th as they return to Moody Coliseum for the first time since 2008. ACU will open its doors for the community to join in on the fun. Tickets can be bought online for $23 for the upper level seats, $33 for the lower level, and floor seats at $63. To purchase tickets, go to harlemglobetrotters.com/tickets. The ACU golf team finished 3rd at the Marjorie Whitney Invitational a week after winning the Bruce Williams Memorial. This tournament ends the fall season for the Cats, and they will resume play in March. For the JMC Network Sportscast, I'm Taylor Langston.
And I'm Kristen Goodspeed. See you next week.
Thanks, ladies. And something else that happened this week, the Wildcat men's basketball team had an exhibition game against Baylor University. Yes, the Baylor University, down only 6 at halftime. The final was 81-54, though. Grant, let's talk about this weekend in college football. Not only in Division II is it a big weekend, we're both from Nashville, Tennessee, SEC country, a big weekend in Division I. Alabama and LSU this weekend, the number 1, number 2 teams in the nation going at it.
Yeah, forget about points. I mean, first downs will be at a premium. It will be a good old-fashioned SEC slugfest. And you know, Oregon has been great the last few years, scoring crazy amounts of points, Wisconsin. But for people who are from the area of the country that we're from, this is what football is. 2 great, not good, great defensive teams. The kind of defensive teams that you feel like maybe could shut down the Dolphins or, you know, a really low-level NFL team. It's going to be great. Austin, this is a huge day in Division II as well. I mean, there are 5 matchups featuring two top 25 teams, top 25 teams against each other. Delta State, number 1 in the nation, taking on West Alabama, a team that just beat North Alabama. We know what's happening in the Lone Star Conference. ACU is on the road at Kingsville, Midwestern hosting WT. I mean, you're talking about some huge games in the MIAA as well, and that affects the regional rankings.
Absolutely. That Pitt-Washburn game is something that we need to be watching extremely closely, because if Pitt wins that game, Washburn could potentially drop below ACU. ACU could move up into that number 4 spot, or Washburn beats Pitt. Pitt, I don't know where they would fall, but you know, a lot of things can change this weekend.
They could, and we'll take a look at the regional rankings, I know, in our next segment. But think about it this way. You've got Pitt State, number 1. They leapfrogged Midwestern State. Even though they were idle last week, Midwestern State beat Eastern New Mexico, by 23 points and dropped from 1 to 2. It's tough to tell about the regional rankings, but you do know this, that if ACU were to lose a game, then their chances of making the playoffs are over. You've got Missouri Western at number 7, a potential team that could slide into that top 6.
Playing Northwest Missouri.
They're hosting Northwest Missouri, number 3. If they lose at home against Northwest Missouri, that's going to dramatically hurt their chances. We're going to know a lot more after tonight's games and after the entire day of action on a lot of levels of college football than we know right now.
Absolutely, and we'll talk more about those regional rankings when we have Coach T back up in the set. Stick around, more of the Chris Thomsen Show right after this.
Take a look at the Super Region 4 standings, the second regional rankings of the year, and you see that Pitt State is now number 1, Midwestern State, after a win over Eastern New Mexico, maybe taking a little bit of a hit in the strength of schedule, falls down to number 2, Northwest Missouri. They're at 3, Washburn 4, ACU stays at 5, and WT at 6. What a huge day in Division II football with Pitt State hosting Washburn. You've got WT on the road at Midwestern State. Coach, just, as we've been thinking about the disappointment of the loss to Midwestern, let's not forget, if West Texas A&M wins tonight against Midwestern, we've got a 3-way tie for first place so long as your team continues to win. This thing's not over.
No, it's not. I mean, there's still a lot of football left, and this is what you work really hard for since we came together as a team in January, to put yourself in a spot to win a conference championship, for playoff berths, and an opportunity to play for a national championship. So it's a lot rides on this weekend. So
let's talk just for a second about that game up in Wichita Falls. 2 weeks ago, you lost to Midwestern big. 3 weeks ago, you beat WT. If you had to just kind of preview that game, what stands out to you?
Well, I think West Texas has the size and the speed on defense to give Midwestern some problems. Now, will they stop them completely? I doubt it. Midwestern's have got a great offense, but where I think Midwestern's defense will match up pretty well with WT's offense, and I think Midwestern will win the game eventually. I think it'll be a pretty hard-fought game, though.
Well, the closest game that Midwestern's had all year was against your opponent tonight, Texas A&M-Kingsville. That was a one-score game, which Kingsville fought hard to stay in. Let's talk about Bo Atterbury's Javelinas. Really up and down, kind of a 5-4 season. First time in 3 years they're not going to go to the NCAA playoffs, in large part because they haven't held on to the football. An astounding 29 turnovers this year and a minus 15 turnover margin in just 9 games. In terms of talent, though, where do they rank in the conference? They've got to be up there close to the top.
They're up there. I mean, their defensive talent they have a good defensive team. You look at all the statistics, they're very good. And then offensively, I mean, you got Woodson and Batiste and Armstrong, some of those guys that have been around making plays, and they're a great team. I think all their losses have been very close and could have gone the other way. So they could easily be a playoff team. I think they have that type of talent. It's just a matter of the turnovers, I think, have hurt them in those games.
We mentioned that this game is always close. You look back at last year, 31-10 ACU early in the fourth quarter. They rally. You guys hold on for a 31-24 victory. They had a chance to tie the game 3 times there in that fourth quarter. Unbelievable comeback by them. Coach Atterbury preaches the mantra, fight, finish, faith down there, and they've bought in, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. I mean, they've been behind in almost every game this year and come back and got behind big to Midwestern, got behind I think 14 or 17 to Tarleton, but they just have playmakers on offense. They're never out of the game. They were down, 23-13 to Angelo last week in the fourth quarter and rallied to tie the game and then sent it into triple overtime. So you can never relax against those guys. They got great playmakers on both sides.
Yeah, really, they were on there deep in their own territory, scrambled, and got that last-second 49-yard field goal to send it to that overtime, which they won. Jonathan Woodson, #1 in the nation in all-purpose yards, better than 200 a game. That was the stat that Bernard Scott led in 2008, in which Bernard was second back in 2007. Tell me what you've seen from him on film. We saw him last year break a kick return that I think gave them some hope, that made them think they were still in that game when they were down.
Yeah, he got it out to the 46-yard line on us, and watched that the other day. I mean, he's an explosive player. They really like to throw it to him out of the backfield. He's a great pass catcher, very effective runner, and then they stick him back there on the kickoff return game and scares the heck out of you. So our defense and our coverage units have their work cut out with Woodson, no question.
Fourth, by the way, he's got the fourth best all-purpose yardage season in the history of Kingsville. The only player ahead of him did it 3 times better. That's Johnny Bailey, who, oh, by the way, maybe is the best player to ever play in the Lone Star Conference, or certainly one of them.
And this is the 47th meeting between these two teams, ACU and Kingsville. The Javelinas have won 31 of those, and it's been a series of streaks. They won 20 straight from 1984 to 2003.
Yeah.
We though, ACU hasn't lost since 2003, haven't lost down in Kingsville since 2004. When you think of your games against Kingsville, what stands out to you? What comes to mind?
Just close games. I mean, just hard fought, great athletes on both sides, and you know, just execution at a high level. And you know, I think of Matt Adams kicking a game winner in 2006 with no time left, and then last year's game in front of a big crowd, huge crowd, in a great setting. And I like going down there. I like going down there this time of year. It's cold up here and it's still warm down there. I enjoy that. And the setting's great. It's a great tradition down there. Looking forward to it.
As we specifically talk about game planning against the Javelinas, I think about last year. They had the #1 overall defense in the nation, and you put the ball in the hands and specifically the right arm of your then sophomore quarterback, Mitchell Gale. He threw it 51 times, I think 417 yards, 3 touchdowns. You really put the game in his hands, and he rewarded you. Again, a very solid defense, 12th in the nation against the run. Still, what's the game plan tonight? Offensively.
Well, we'd like to get some run game going. I mean, Daryl's running the ball well right now. We'd like to get the run game going, and you know, but we know we're going to have to throw. I mean, Kingsville's run defense, they got big front 4 defensive linemen, big, strong inside linebackers. You're not just going to line up and run over them. So we'll have to throw the ball and have to throw the ball well.
If you're going to run it, our last note here, you're going to have to get good production from your offensive line. Last week we saw Gerard Harrell and Blake Spears go out with injuries. What's the health of your team specifically on the front line?
Well, Blake suffered a concussion, and he'll get to play. He didn't practice all week in terms of just contact. There's some strict concussion policies now, and there's a 1-week period now where a player can't have any contact after a concussion. And so, you know, he suffered that probably about 4 o'clock last Saturday, and we play at 7, so he's clear through that window. The doctors feel good about him playing. And then Gerard will be kind of a game time. He's limped around. He didn't have any tears or any breaks. We got X-rays and MRIs on him that were fine, but he's pretty stiff still, and we'd like for him to give us something, but we'll see.
Coach, safe travels and play well tonight against the Javelinas. We'll have the broadcast at 6:30 with a pregame show on Mix 92.5 FM in Abilene. The kickoff at 7. For Coach Thomsen and for Austin Gwynn, I'm Grant Boone. ACU in Kingsville tonight, and we'll see you right here next week.